Hi, my name is Lauren Dietrich. I want to welcome you from the heart to this virtual format of the online industry event, Discover the Baltics, Production Opportunities and Tax Incentives in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. This industry panel at the 62nd Nordic Film Days Lübeck is the first one we're doing in this new format this year, and we're very excited and happy that you're joining us here. So a warm welcome from my side. In this panel, we want to talk about the opportunities, locations, and the excellent production conditions that the Baltic States have to offer. The event will include some impressions from the countries, and we have a panel of expert representatives of the film institutions from the Baltic countries that we're very happy to welcome. I will introduce them to you in a second. But first of all, I wanted to mention that this event will be available as a catch-up as well. So to everybody who's joining us here as live audience, you don't have to take notes of the presentations. You don't have to take photos with your phones of the screens hysterically, as people tend to do these days, instead of taking notes. You will be able to re-watch everything on our website after. And at the very end, you will also have the opportunity again to see my email address, to ask any questions, to connect with any of the representatives that you want to talk to in greater detail about potential collaborations later on. So just enjoy the show, and I'll start with introducing our experts who are joining us virtually from their homes or their offices here in Lübeck in our beautiful studio in the European Hanse Museum here in Lübeck. First of all, a warm welcome to Nele Paves. Nele is the film commissioner at the Estonian Film Institute. Welcome, Nele. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. I was still a couple of weeks ago hoping for an actual Lübeck visitation, but oh well, such is life. I hope everybody's keeping healthy and safe these days.
I think it's wonderful that you still managed to join, and this goes for all of us and all of you especially, who made time in their busy schedules from home to call into our studio today. So we're very, very happy to have you, Nele. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Next I'll introduce Inga to my left, to my virtual left in the studio here. Inga is the head of production and development at the National Film Center of Latvia. Inga, did you plan to come to Lübeck in person as well and had to cancel, or how was your idea of participating in the festival this year?
No, it was not planned, but I will go to Lübeck. There's my colleague that participates in another section of the event, but well, it was not planned, but I enjoy being in this format as well, so we can have more opportunities maybe this way as well.
The good thing also, I can come as close to you as I want. I don't have to keep any distance. I don't have to wear the beautiful branded masks that we're having this year at the festival. So this is the closest I've come to a human being, I think, in weeks by now. So I'm very happy about that as well.
Without a mask.
Last but definitely not least, we have two guests joining us from Lithuania. First, on my left, I want to say welcome to Jūrate Pazikaitė, the director of the Vilnius Film Office. Hi, welcome, Jūrate. Wonderful to have you here. How is it in Vilnius? How are things going for you?
Hello, everyone. Everything is great. Sadly, we cannot meet physically, but I hope this meeting and this forum will also be useful, as we used to have those meetings in real life. And maybe one day we will meet in Lübeck.
Yes, wonderful. I think that will definitely happen. We'll all keep patiently waiting until that happens. On your virtual right is Deimantas Saladžius from the Lithuanian Film Center. You're responsible for the film tax incentive at the Lithuanian Film Center, Deimantas. You're not joining from the same place, so are you calling in from home office or from different offices? How's your situation right now?
I am calling from Lithuanian Film Center from my office because I am almost alone in here, so it's okay to come, and I have plenty of room for myself and for social distancing, and it's better for me to be in here. It's inviting.
Wonderful. Well, for this panel, we'll try to keep it physically distanced, but socially very close and very warm felt, hopefully. So in that spirit, I just want to get started with the wonderful presentations that you have prepared for us today. First, we will proceed in both geographical order from north to south in the different countries, but also in an alphabetical order. I really checked my maps to make sure that I'm on the right side there. So the first presentation we will have is from Latvia, and for this I'll hand over the word to Nele.
Estonia.
Oh, sorry, from Estonia. I'm confused already. So all this looking at maps and everything totally didn't work. Alphabetical E is before L, so we'll start with Estonia. Thank you so much. And this is Jūrate on the screen still. But we would need to have, there you are again. We're working with three virtual people, but 4 real people, so sometimes we'll have to switch it a bit between the two of them. Sorry for that. Yes, Nele, you prepared a little presentation for us, and we'll just start with that. I'll hand over the word for you. So for the next minutes, the virtual stage is all yours.
Thank
and
you.
We'll start the presentation now, and you can just start talking to us about the presentation. Whenever you want to move to the next slide, just let us know, okay?
Yeah, you can immediately put the next slide, as this is the introduction. So yes, good morning, everybody. I'm here at the Estonian Film Institute, so I will just say a couple of words about the institute itself, what we do here. So in general, we support, like every local film institute, we support the national films in all the genres. We support TV series development. We have minority co-production available. We support local distribution, and also we support filmmakers when they need training or need to go to festivals. Next slide, please. Maybe interesting for you as a listener is our minority co-production, in addition to the cash rebate incentive, which I will talk about a little bit later. But minority co-production is also available for foreign filmmakers. And we have 2 deadlines, January and September. Similarly to other film institutes, so the application has to be made by an Estonian co-producer. And we support also all genres, features, documentaries, animations. I had a quick look through the history, so I don't know why, or for whatever reason, we haven't had any German projects at the minority co-production funding tables. So we are really looking forward to supporting German films in the future, hopefully. Next slide, please. And also maybe the main thing which is my area of expertise is our cash rebate. And before I go quickly about the conditions, I would also like to say that we haven't had any German films applying for cash rebate. So that's an option which I think could be useful to take advantage of. So Film Estonia cash rebate was established 2016, so it's fairly new in cash rebate incentive world, but it has been proven very reliable and very easy to understand for foreign producers. And when in the first year, 2016, we had 2 applications, then last year we already had 12, and with very different sizes of production. So it has been very beneficial to foreign producers. It's easy to understand, it's very transparent, it's super quick to get the application accepted, and then it's very, very quick to get the actual rebate. So it says the support intensity is 20 to 30%, but usually everybody is getting 30% because it's easy to achieve, whether based on the Estonian expenditure or whether you can hire Estonian creative staff for your films, which most productions actually do. I think it makes sense to include local talent. And if I can quickly say about statistics, usually Estonians are trusted with production design, sound design, and makeup department. So I think those are our trump cards, which people take advantage of. And the applications and the auditing and reporting will be done by your Estonian partners, so you don't really have to worry about the technical details, which every rebate system, of course, has. And to be extra transparent and quick, the rebate money, when we make the payment, goes directly to a foreign account. So it's very, very transparent and quick in that sense. So we make the decisions in 30 days after getting the applications. If I don't have a holiday, we make the decision in 10 days, let's say. And the payment and the auditing takes altogether, it takes about 40 days, absolute maximum. So it's very, very quick. Next slide, please. And we support feature films with the cash rebate, animation series, with documentaries as well, TV drama and post-production. So for example, I mean, in these pandemic times, it's becoming more difficult to travel to locations. So you could very well apply for just post-production in Estonia. And I'm really proud to say we have a really good level of post-production quality companies here. Finnish TV series are coming more and more and back to us with just post-production, having not shot anything here on location. And the most new thing which we support is also interactive films. So I mean, the world is changing and so are the films. So sometimes you just make films for small screens, phones, and such. So that's also something we support, and we have supported 2 of those films recently. Next slide, please. I mean, these are technicalities, and I don't think you should worry about the technicalities so much, but just to give you an idea what size of projects we support. So the overall budget thresholds are for feature films. The overall budget has to be €1 million, animation 250,000, and series 500,000. TV drama 200,000 per episode, and documentaries 200,000 overall budget. And if you come here just for post-production, then the thresholds are obviously much lower. And as I said, all the projects I have approved are getting 30% rebate back, so it's quite easy to achieve. Next slide, please. And of course, as with every rebate, there is a requirement to include local Estonian staff. So a quarter of the money you spend here would have to be on Estonian taxpayers. I think that that makes sense everywhere. Next slide, please. And in addition to the national rebate, we also have 3 regional film funds. We have one for the southern part of Estonia, one for the eastern part of Estonia, and now the very newest one is one for the islands. So for the southern part, for example, last year we had a very big war drama from Denmark, shot totally in the south of Estonia. So they could actually get the national rebate, and in addition get the regional rebate as well. So that's something to think about, because you can add on. And their budgets are clearly smaller, but they are very, so to say, up and coming and very eager. And they have more budget available if we have bigger projects. So this is just the guideline of a budget of 150,000 for southern parts of Estonia and 200,000 in the east, which is on the next slide. Yes, so I mean, talking about the locations, the eastern part of Estonia clearly could and has doubled for Russia, which is something that we get asked about all the time from foreign productions. So this is mainly a Russian-speaking area, and it looks a little bit like a small Russia. Obviously, the scope and size are different to Russia, but it could double very well as Russia. And one thing about the Estonian rebate, the national rebate, is we don't have any cultural testing at the moment. So although greatly appreciated, you don't really have to mention Estonia in the film. So you can make it look like something else altogether. Next slide, please. And here we have some of the films that have been made with the help of Estonian cash rebate. So So as you can see, there's different categories. There's animations, there's war dramas, there's period dramas, and there's an interactive film there as well. So because our history is quite varied, we have been ruled by many, so we have loads of different architecture available here. So Finnish usually love and use our beautiful manor houses and castles, and American productions usually ask for Russian type of post-Soviet architecture. And somehow, I don't know why, they say that we are great for horror films. So whatever floats your boat, as they say, you can come and shoot anything here. And I cannot not mention Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which was our big first Hollywood production, which we had last summer. So they spent most of their shooting days here in Estonia. And if you've seen the film, then you can actually, I think, see what we are capable of here. And I can very confidently say that we can handle any size of production. When you've done a big Hollywood film, I think you can handle anything. And of course, I have to touch on the COVID-19 a little bit. We are at the moment still one of the lowest COVID-19 numbers country in the whole of Europe. We started shooting films, both domestic and international, already in 1st of June. We are still shooting films from foreign countries and also local films. So we are taking all the precaution measurements. We have protocols in place. We are taking temperatures. We are isolating. We are testing. We are keeping the masks on. But other than that, I mean, it's business as usual. So we welcome new projects with open arms. It's still safe here. You can come and shoot your film here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the chat or write me an email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nele. Thank you. We're not keeping our masks on here in the presentation, so I'm going to continue to just speak to you frankly through the safety of your screens at home. One thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, and I'm sorry about that, is that if you're watching live right now, there's a chat function, and you're very welcome to log into the chat with your name and where you're calling from, and ask us any questions that you have for everybody. We'll have some time at the end to answer immediate questions, but of course we're happy to connect you also to all of the experts that we have on our panel today. When I looked at the website of the Estonian Film Institute, I saw that there's one film that's also playing here in Lübeck in the feature film competition, and this is a Finnish film called Helene by Antti Jokinen. If you are watching live and you are in Germany, you can also catch that film, as many other films. I think it's over 140 in a streaming on the website of the Festival Nordische Filmtage Lübeck. And this goes until Sunday at midnight, as we know so far. So feel free to watch some movies shot in Estonia, even if it's not a horror movie and even if it's not Tenet. We're very happy to have that film here as well.
I would just like to add about Helene. It was shot in Estonia. The whole film was shot here, and it's a beautifully exquisite story about an artist. So if you have time, please go and see it. It's a beautiful film.
Cool. We'll definitely try and make that happen once we're through here and have some time to watch movies at home. Thank you so much to Nele, and we're going to move on to Inga now. Hi, Inga. Hi again, I have to say. You brought us not only a nice presentation, but also a video. So not to lose too much time and to have enough time to hear you talk about everything, I would propose we start with the video right away, and then I'll move straight into the presentation, and you can start telling us everything about what's going on in Latvia. Is that all right for you?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Wonderful.
So,
okay, so let's say, as we say in German, film up for the video that you brought.
Hi, my name is Lolita Ritmanis, and I'm an Emmy-winning composer. I've been nominated 10 times. This opportunity arose to compose a score for a really epic, beautiful film set right during World War I. I I thought, well, let's try this out. Let's see what it's like to record with Latvian musicians. And I have to say, this experience has been something beyond my wildest expectations. The musicians were absolutely superb. We actually were able to record a lot of music in less time than I anticipated, and also have an opportunity to work with world-class choirs. Latvia is such a rich and beautiful country, and also the facilities available for recording orchestra, choir are many, many, many. There are several wonderful recording studios that can fit an entire symphony orchestra, and also opportunities to record in churches and concert halls with the best technology, great recording equipment, and great team at one's disposal. Apart from the wonderful experience of recording music here, having been a part of this bigger Latvian film and looking at the way that the cinematographer had an opportunity to film in Latvia is really quite eye-opening. Latvia has something from the 1200s to Jugendstil German architecture. Also the fact that we are so far north in Latvia that in the summertime you could start your film shoot at 5 a.m. and end it at 10:30. Now I don't know if everyone wants to film that long, but should you as a director or producer want to film in Latvia, you have a very long day of filming possibilities open to you. The only thing we don't really have are big Alps, but we definitely have beautiful mountainous regions where you can actually feel like you're perhaps in the lower aspects of the Alps. Latvia provides so many opportunities for filming, for everything from way back in the 1200s with the architecture to support that kind of filming, to the romantic villages of Switzerland or Germany. You have that all available here in Latvia. But if you want to film something in the future, something with modern technology and beautiful skyscrapers and extremely interesting modern architecture, that's also available for you here. So come to Latvia to record, and you're going to not only have a great time, but you're going to have a wonderful final product. Latvia is a little gem in the middle of Europe. Some people think of it as just old ex-communist bloc country. Well, you should come and visit. In the morning, you can be having phenomenal cappuccino in the middle of a cobblestone-lined street and be having the best breakfast in the world. Half hour later, you can be at the beach. And why not do a little filming at the beach? In the evening, you might want to go to an old castle ruins 2 hours drive away, or even an hour drive away. Everything is really close. So you can stay in Riga all the time in the most posh accommodations, 5-star hotels, and be filming everywhere from rolling hills to grassy fields to rivers, oceans. Most everyone speaks English. Internet is extremely fast. You can continue your business that you have to do in New York at any moment. I mean, really, honestly, I have better reception here than I do in Los Angeles. Save some money. Come to Latvia for the wide range of experience from way before time to way into the future.
Okay, thank you. That was the video that you brought, Inga, and we can just move straight into the presentation that you are showing, and I'll hand over the word and the virtual stage to you.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Now, after I hope you've heard the introductory words, the beautiful description of Latvia by Lolita Ritmanis, who's a Latvian origin, but she lives in America. She's a famous composer, and last year there was film Blizzard of Souls that was released in Latvia. That's a Latvian film, and that was very, very big success, and the music was beautiful. And that was the time that working on this film, she herself experienced how it is to work in Latvia. And then afterwards, in cooperation with Latvian Investment Agency, we produced this video. Well, but now when talking about the practicalities, I'd like to introduce the aspects of our support schemes that might be interesting to you. We are a country next to Estonia when you move from north to south, and we have quite many similarities with Estonia. We have a cash rebate program and we have support for co-productions. So now we could move to the next slide. And the cash rebate program is on two levels. We have national cash rebate program at National Film Center, and it can be combined with the cash rebate program operated by Riga City Council, Riga Film Fund. And we also, the same as Estonia and many other European countries, have minority co-production support program at National Film Center, which is selective support program. Now, please move on with the next slide. In the video, already reasons were mentioned why it's, in our opinion, worth to consider working in Latvia and with companies in Latvia. We have a compact country with very diverse filmmaking locations, medieval architecture, manners. We have one of the richest Art Nouveau architecture, 19th century wooden architecture, as well as Soviet industrial architecture. We have rich nature, we have quite a long coastline, we have ski resorts, and these locations have worked well for historical, war films, epics, period dramas, horror, crime, action, many kind of films that you can imagine. We have very skilled and very professional and very hard-working people that allows us to claim that we have well-developed film industry with qualified professionals, with quality filmmaking and technical service that has quite a huge experience at the moment in international projects as well. We have people with good language skills. English as Russian is very common, but you can easily find people speaking German as well. We also have extensive regional collaboration when additional resources need to be involved. For example, technical companies, they, if not having offices in all Baltic capitals, they have offices at least in 2 capitals, or they have experience in very good cooperation. And also shooting permissions can be arranged quickly and easily by help of state and municipal institutions. For example, now in COVID situation, up till recently, we also used to be very COVID safe country. And still we have around 4 foreign film projects now shooting. And Ministry of Culture has been involved in COVID work permit organization and in helping producers to arrange for tests. So this side of the cooperation is also very, very solid. Well, and now we could move on the next slide when I will tell you more about this cash rebate scheme we have. When you combine the National Film Center and Riga Film Fund financing, you can expect to have cash rebate up to 40 or even 50% of their expenses that are incurred in Latvia. We are running those programs in parallel. They are open deadlines. We open call in January, and usually it's until the end of September, because we are both restricted to annual budget. So that's the main maybe disadvantage of our schemes. Well, in other aspects, we have also many similarities. In both these programs, you can apply with feature films and documentaries and TV films. With animation, you can apply only to National Film Center. There are slightly different minimal total budget requirements, and there are slight differences in the percentage of the cash rebate. But the main percentage is 20% in the National Film Center as well. You can claim, thanks to recent changes in regulation, up to 30%, depending on the taxes spent in Latvia. But that in detail I can explain to someone who's more interested in that. So as I already mentioned, we have open call until September 15th of the respective year. And reports should be submitted by the mid-November, in case of National Film Center, or by at the end of November in the case of Riga Film Fund. And then within like months time, but usually within more than, let's say, 10 days, we review the reports and pay the money to the producer that been working with this project. It's a first come, first served until the annual budget is depleted, and as I already mentioned, when combined, it's around 2 million euros. At National Film Center, we have slightly more than 1 million, and Riga Film Fund, they have about 800,000, but it might be different for different years. Last year, that was not enough for the project, so the interest was quite huge. This year, of course, is very different from any regular year, but projects were cancelled, but some projects started anew, and well, as I mentioned, now we have still 4 projects that are being filmed. Well, now I think we could move to the next slide. Okay. Yeah, there's one slide missing. Unfortunately, I had slight mistake. Before this picture, I wanted you to tell briefly about the eligibility criteria. It's rather similar in some cases as Estonia. You should have at least 50% of all financing confirmed. There should be services provided by private individuals or legal entities that are registered in Latvia that are involved in the production of the film. And costs are incurred through the Latvian production company. And possible partners can be found via Film Service Producers Association. They have their website. You can Google and find it, or you can afterwards email me and I can introduce you to them if you are interested particularly. It's important to consider that no principal photography must be made before application. And of course, film shooting should take place fully or partly in Latvia. And eligible expenses are production-related artistic, administrative, and personnel costs, transport, location, and equipment rentals, construction services, accommodations, catering, security, basically almost all expenses that can incur in filming process in Latvia. And now, this slide is to illustrate that from the projects we've been financing throughout last years, we had one project produced by a German company for ZDF. It's a TV series, historical documentary series, I would say, that's been co-produced by Cinevilla Films. That's an example how the cooperation continues from year to year. Yeah, and now I think we could move to the next slide, where I will briefly tell you about the minority co-production support. Foreign productions are also eligible for production support from National Center of Latvia in this program when a Latvian co-producer is involved. We annually fund around 3 to 5 minority co-productions. There have been few years when we had extra financing for second round of this competition, then the project size, then we have more projects and more money for that, but usually it's one competition where we distribute around 300,000 euros. Oh, there's a mistake. There's 1 0 missing, but yeah. The recipient of minority co-production support shall spend 80% of the support allocated for the film project in economic activity in Latvia. The project must comply with the terms and conditions for a Latvian film. There should be artistic and technical input from Latvia. And for the full-length feature films or animation, films director should have experience of completed and distributed feature animation film, respectively. In this program as well, the support application is made by Latvian co-producer, and we usually have our competition in spring, announcing that competition schedule on our website. But in this case, anyway, if you plan to apply for co-production support, you definitely will have to have their partner in Latvia, and all film studios are very familiar with the scheme we have. So I think, yeah, that's very briefly about the possibilities and opportunities in Latvia.
Thank you so much, Inga, for this presentation, and also for the video with the beautiful images. This show gave me the feeling that I want to go on holidays, not only to work in Latvia, but also go on holidays there. It looked really very, very tempting and very nice.
There are quite many German people coming to holidays.
Sounds like a good plan.
This summer also.
I'm going to come to all of your 3 countries and make a big tour once traveling is going to be easier again. In this video, it was also mentioned that there is quite a lot of historical films being shot in Latvia. I just want to use that to shamelessly plug in another event that we're having later at 2 p.m. today here in the same studio, where we're going to talk about audience building for historical films in these unprecedented times. Everybody who's watching live right now is, of course, very welcome to join at 2 p.m. as well. But we're gonna not talk about historical films now. I'll have questions for you, Inga, and there's some questions in the chat already as well that I'm gonna ask to all of you at the end of the 3 presentations. But for now, I'm gonna say thank you to you and move over virtually to Lithuania, over here. Hi, Deimantas, I'm gonna start with you, if that's okay for you.
Hi.
So you're working at the Lithuanian Film Center, and you're responsible for the film tax incentive, and you're presenting today together with Jūrate from the Vilnius Film Office. You have a shared presentation that we're just going to start now, and then would you start presenting and talking, or is Jūrate first in your presentation?
No, me first.
You first. I had a good instinct that we're going to start with you. Yeah. Great, so we'll just start the presentation, and I'll hand over the microphone to you.
Okay, hi everybody. Today, as was said, I and my colleague Jūrate from Vilnius Film Office will speak about shooting locations. So I will do just basic of tax incentive, and Jūrate will speak about more nicer things like film locations and recent production. So we can go to the first slide, please. Okay, that's the slide. And in here, you see a visualization of how the tax incentive system works. It looks difficult, but I will explain step by step, and I think it will be easier later to understand. And as you can see, there is 4 players, main 4 players in this kind of system. And I will start to speak from the foreign producer. As a foreign producer, if he wants to use tax incentive system in Lithuania to shoot film in Lithuania, the first step for him is to reach out to Lithuanian production company to have an agreement and to agree to create some kind of movie together. First step, just simple, same with any cash rebate or tax incentive. The second part is Lithuanian production company. Lithuanian production company is responsible for reaching out Lithuanian Film Center for giving an application for that film, and later, if everything is okay, if production and cultural criteria are met, Film Center issues out a qualification certificate. Later, I will tell you more about production cultural criteria. Now, as you can see, Lithuanian Film Center is mostly involved 2 times per project, at the start of the production and at the end of the production. Lithuanian Film Center at the end of the production is issuing out investment certificate. And now I will point out the obvious. Lithuanian Film Center administrates the tax incentive, but as you can see, the funding doesn't come from the Film Center. The funding of the tax incentive system is coming from Lithuanian Lithuanian private company. As you can see in this scheme, production company, Lithuanian production company has to have an agreement with private company and agree for investment up to 30% from Lithuanian production budget. Now you can ask yourself why private companies should care to invest their own money to some kind of film production. I don't want to sound mean, but it's a little bit wrong question to ask. And now I will explain why. You have to understand that Lithuanian private company, we just call it investment, but actually it's not investment. Lithuanian private company, if it's using tax incentive, it's just directing their taxes straight to the film, so some kind of film. Usually, private companies would pay taxes, and taxes would go to the government's budget. But with this system, we allow to some private companies skip the government budget and just go straight to the film funding, and it's okay with the government. Why? Because from the state's point of view, this kind of funding means more foreign producer coming, bigger economical growth, and taxes from other fields. So it's win. Also, getting back to the private company, company also is getting a little bit benefit for themselves. The private company isn't just directing their taxes money. If they use tax incentive, they can save up to 11.25% from invested sum. So, for example, if private company is directing 100,000 euros to some kind of film production, 11,000 euros, about 11,000 euros is staying with the company, and it's separate money from that 100,000 euros, which went to the film funding. So in this system, everyone gets the benefit, and I just want to make one point. What do we get from this kind of system? We don't have a pre-prepared annual budget. Our high ceiling for this kind of investments is very high. It's 50 million per year. In our best year, we did 9 million. But it works, the system works on, you can say, on demand-supply principle. If there is demand, if there is a foreign producer coming to Lithuania, there will be supply for investment. If there is no demand, the system still will stay, because just private company will pay the taxes to the government's budget, and it's okay also. And this was the hardest part. This kind of system, you can remember, it's called actually tax shelter, easier to remember tax incentive, but that's the biggest difference and our uniqueness from the cash rebate. Now let's move to the simpler things, and next slide, please. Yeah, so who can apply for the eligible production, for the tax incentive? Short answer, almost all of the productions, any kind of films can apply. So as you can see, national films, co-productions, foreign films, which can be feature film, documentaries, animations, TV dramas. Ineligible productions is only commercials and music videos. Eligible expenses is almost all expenses which are related to film production, except the development costs. And we don't have an application deadline also. And now, next slide, please. Now, as I said before, I will tell you about production criteria and cultural criteria. So, as you can see, our production criteria is quite low. Because we invite all kind of projects to Lithuania, even mini budget projects. So minimum spend in Lithuania has to be 43,000 euros, and that applies for any kind of the film. For the feature film, for the TV series, for documentaries, doesn't matter. Another criteria is 3 days of shooting. And one more important, it's at least 51% of the hired crew has to be citizens of Lithuania or another European Economic Area country. There is one additional criteria for animation, because the criteria for 3 days of shooting doesn't apply for animation. and that criteria for animation says that just 20% of the total cost has to be inquired for example, for background design. So it's simple. And you can see there is one more production criteria. It says at least 80% of production costs must be incurred in Lithuania. But what does it mean? In simple, short answer, it means that you can add 20% of the foreign expenses and to count the tax incentive person from that whole sum. And last slide, please. Okay, and now we are on cultural criteria. I will not go into to the details now. I have marked the keywords. Later, if you are curious, you can go to the web page or you can write to me, and I will show you the cultural criteria. But the main point in here is what your film script must meet 2 out of 7 cultural criteria, and our cultural criteria is directed not to Lithuanian culture, but to all Europe cultural themes. So it's quite easy to meet. And that's it from me. I will pass the word for Jūrate. Later, in the last slide, after Jūrate will finish speaking, you will see mine and Jūrate's contacts. You can call me or write me and ask more detailed questions. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Yeah, I will continue the Lithuanian presentation. So next slide. Talking about the locations of Lithuania, I will start with the capital Vilnius, which was a political center of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania from the 13th to the end of the 18th century. So it has had a profound influence on the cultural and architectural development of much of Eastern Europe. And despite invasions and partial destructions, it has preserved an impressive complex of Gothic, Renaissance, Baroque, and classical buildings, as well as its medieval layout and natural setting. Next slide, please. If you're looking for old cobble street or 19th, 18th century manors, palaces, and castles for your stories, this is the place. Next slide. The Lithuanian climate, continental humid, is comparable to the cities such as Moscow and Toronto. Typically, we have several hot weeks in summers and 1 or 2 very cold weeks in winter. Sadly, but snow is becoming a challenge like everywhere else. Lithuania has an access to the Baltic Sea and lots of lakes, rivers, forests, birch trees. If your story is Soviet-related, plains and hills. Next slide. So this is Kaunas city locations. Kaunas was the capital of Lithuania during the interwar period. The city had its biggest and fastest development during that time, so the interwar architecture heritage is really big and unique. Next slide. Here is Kaunas Fortress. It was constructed and renovated between 1882 and 1915 to protect the Russian Empire western borders, and was designated as a first-class fortress in 1887. Next slide. And of course, if you are looking Soviet architecture for your story, we have plenty to offer, both Soviet-style buildings where interior fits the main purpose of the Soviet architecture to feel small and unimportant, and Soviet suburbs. Next slide. But if your story requires generic modern buildings, you can easily find them in Vilnius, together with newly built suburbs where you can feel like you are in the Scandinavian countries. Next slide, please. And one of the recent unique locations in Vilnius is Lukiškės prison, officially closed last year in July after 115 years. It hasn't been changed or renovated, so it has the feeling of real jail and the mood of crime and punishment. But at the same time, it has unique spaces that could easily be turned into a 3-store nightclub. The prison complex is over 2.25 hectares and has always been a multifunctional space with spaces designated for work, prayer, punishment, administrative functions, and the provision of healthcare services. And it is a film-friendly location and open for the filmmakers. Last production shot in Lukiškės was Strange's Netflix production. And the next slide, please. Here are a few latest productions in Lithuania that got benefits from our tax incentive scheme. So if you're looking for a co-production partner or interested in production services or have a film idea and looking for specific locations or would like to know more about Lithuania's tax incentives, please feel free to contact Deimantas or me. The last slide. Yes, thank you. Here are our contacts.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Jūrate, and also Deimantas. Wonderful to hear all of that from you. I wanted to mention that one film that you mentioned in the preparation, there was actually quite an impressive list of films that were like co-produced under one of these incentive schedules from your country that are in the festival selected, but one was especially interesting from my side, and that's the Norwegian-Swedish co-production Diana's Wedding. This one used the tax incentive and shot in Lithuania, even if it's not a Lithuanian production. So I think that was a really interesting example. And this is also in the feature film selection of Nordische Filmtage this year. So you can also, if you're in Germany, watch it. Thank you, everybody, for the presentations. We're going to move into some questions now. And I have two questions from the chat that I want to get started with. And since I'm standing here between you two, I want to start with you two. So the first question, and that might be a fairly easy yes or no question, I hope, or I think, is coming from Katrin Isberner. Thanks for the question. And it was if the co-production agreements have to be under the European Convention on Cinematic Co-production for all of you, but maybe you can start with the situation in Lithuania.
Yes, it has to be on the, based on the European Convention of for co-production.
Cool. I thought it would be an easy yes or no answer, so I think that makes things pretty clear. I'll just move into the second question before I move back to Latvia and Estonia with the same question. The second question was from Henla from Tufi Films from Finland. Hi to Helsinki, Henla. Good to see you or to read you on the panel. And the question was about ecological production. Nele answered some details already in the chat. We're going to come back to you as well, Nele, later. But maybe, first of all, you can tell us something, Jūrate and Deimantas, about the Lithuanian situation, and if you have any specific points on ecological film production in your country.
Maybe Jūrate?
Jūrate, maybe you want to, sorry, no, Jūrate, maybe you want to chive in for that? Jūrate, I'm not sure if you can still hear us or if you want to say something about the question of ecological production in Lithuania. Maybe not. I think there might be an issue that Jūrate is maybe not hearing us right now. Deimantas, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's hard for me to answer to that question because I just don't know. Okay.
Let's just put the question back for the moment and hope that Jūrate will be able to hear us again, hopefully. I can still see you, but there might be a technical issue with the sound. So maybe I'll just use the opportunity and bring it over to Inga.
About the psychological...
I'll ask you the two same questions, if that's okay for you. So the first one was if I forgot my notes now, so I have to go back and get them. The first one was if the co-production agreements have to be under the European Convention on Cinematic Co-production?
Yes. Yes,
Good.
they should be.
Good. I hope, Katrin, at home, that answers your question. And then the second question was coming from Finland, from Tuffi Films, and it was about ecological production, if there's anything you want to share on that topic.
We recently had one feature film, local feature film. The production company producing that film, they, on their own initiative, were starting to work according to, ecologically friendly working procedures. So they would would have as little impact on ecology with the filming as possible. And afterwards, we had discussion about it, and we also had the seminar about this for other film production companies. But at this moment, we don't have any evaluation advantages for projects that apply such practice. But we are aware that most probably we should keep thinking about it, and as the more companies, and in order to attract more companies to that working practice, so I think in some future we'll definitely introduce some criteria.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Inga. And then I'll move with the question to Nele, to Estonia. So let me just turn around here, and there is Nele. Nele, you did answer some parts of the questions in the chat already. Thanks for that. But maybe you just want to repeat so everybody who's not reading the chat or is watching this as a catch-up can also get your input on ecological production and how the situation is in Estonia for that.
Yes, it's becoming, obviously, around the world, it's becoming more and more important every day, and we were making great steps towards green production before COVID-19 hit. And we had one of our local films who really tried to apply all the green production rules, and then we had another Finnish film which was also tried to apply the green production rules, but that was shot during or post-COVID, so it was proving a little bit more difficult to follow all the rules, because you have to still take care of the hygiene at this point of time, and single-use things are coming back to play, so to say. But I know at least some of the production companies, they are really trying to push the green production topic, and I know our regional fund from southern part of Estonia, they also have tried to join the Synergia Green program and get the certificates to prove that they are thinking green and they are acting green. I mean, thinking is not enough. So we are really trying to go forward with this. And hopefully we can do it better after the COVID subsides and we can go back to normal life and be more green.
Well, I'm sure we all share that hope that we can go back to normal life and to normal working life, or maybe to a new normal where ecological production is more of a given for all projects that will be supported. So thanks for that input. While I have you here on the screen, I'd love to continue with another question from my side for you. So I would be really interested to see if you could give us a bit of a view back on what happened in Estonia since the program was introduced, and how the local film industry also developed and hopefully took advantage of this measure. So maybe you can just give us for a minute or two a quick look back into the past of how things have changed for you in Estonia.
Yes, like I said in my presentation, in the beginning it was, of course, first steps, and we had 2 applications for cash rebate, and obviously all the rebate systems are developed for boosting the economy, but at the same time, for me, it's very important that we can get to give our filmmakers and film professionals international experiences, which then again help local films as well. So, of course, everybody knows about Tenet and Christopher Nolan, and it was a massive, massive production and such a large scale, and gave us invaluable experience. But at the same time, our good neighbors from Finland are coming here every year, and they are making more films here in Estonia. So that's providing jobs for our film professionals. And then again, getting that Scandinavian experience. And I think we work well together. So yes, of course, it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. At some point, obviously, when the cash rebate projects are more successful, then we need to find time for our own local films and domestic films as well. So that's a balance we have to find. But yes, it's been really, really great, and it's moving fast, and it's growing a lot. So our filmmakers are really, really experienced. They were good before. I think they are even better now.
Wonderful, thank you. And from the past, maybe a quick outlook into the future. Are there plans to continue, expand, develop the programs for you? How do you see the next years happening for you on terms of co-production and international support system?
Yes, obviously. I mean, again, I mean, I hate to bring up the pandemic, but before pre-COVID, we had so many interesting projects in the works, which I really hope we can continue with. The cash rebate program, I think it needs tiny bit of tweaking to make it even more clear, even more simple to understand and to apply for. But I think as we were quite late to establish it, we could learn from the best and already try to make it very, very accessible and understandable for the foreign producers. So I think that's proven to be very reliable and transparent and clear to understand for everybody at the moment. But yes, I mean, co-productions, we're always welcoming. We have quite a bit of money for the minority co-production for the next year, as we were giving some extra funding for the Estonian Film Institute. So we will be putting more funding to the minority co-production support as well. So definitely something to think about, and we're here.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So I will turn to Jūrate and Deimantas again now. I think Jūrate is back. You had a quick problem, like checking out of our panel, I think, but hopefully, Jūrate, you can hear us again now. If we can get you back on the screen as well. Give us a second here to do this on the technical side. But maybe Deimantas, you can start on this question, like a quick look back at what happened since the program was introduced. Jūrate, there you are again. Hey, good to see you again. Can you hear us again? Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so if you both want to chime in maybe on like the past, what are the developments, how was the situation developing for the local industry, and then like straight away continue into an outlook into what you expect for the future?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
So I say that in the last 10 years, the industry grew up a lot. Now we can provide services to big productions like HBO Mobile or Stranger Things. And it helped tax incentives introduced in 2014 helped a lot to boost the film industry in Lithuania.
Yes, and I can add also what it's actually the second installment of the tax incentive. From 2014 to 2018, it was 20%. Now it's 30%. And the deadline for the system now is 2023. So, but we are already thinking what we can do more, and it's a good what we have few years advanced, and I think it takes a lot of strategic thinking. So maybe we will think of something more, and also I would like to do a little bit more to simplify the rules, because there is a little bit kind of hard questions, but I think it's manageable. And also what I wanted to say, what our tax incentive, I think it's not only a huge impact on the foreign production, but also for national productions. Because it can be maybe national production just lacks 10,000 euros, and it's a way for them to found this kind of financial support. So it's very good.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I move back to Inga, maybe Jūrate, did you want to add anything on the question of ecological producing? Or should we keep that for like individual questions that can be sent later on to you by email?
I think we need to step in this area.
Okay, good. I think we all do, so I think you're not alone in this. So thank you so much for that. I'll move back to Inga now, and would also love to hear from you about like the experiences of the past and your outlook on the future with the program in Latvia. So if you want to share on that.
Well, there are two programs. The cash rebate program was started in Latvia like initially in 2013, but more or less like really it started to work in 2016, and since then the like growth of the program and the increase of our producers' professionalism has been extremely big. Initially, there were very few projects that were attracted to that scheme. And last year was the first year we ran out of the money at the very beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. And it clearly showed that our production companies have built up their resources, they've built up their experience. There's technical resources needed, and very importantly, they've also established contacts that allow to bring good and interesting projects for filming in Latvia. And thanks to that, we were able to introduce certain changes in regulation that might allow us to ask for extra money for that program if there are many big projects coming in, and the government would consider our request. But unfortunately, now times has changed. The regulation still allows us to do that, but we haven't exercised it yet, and I don't know what are the prospects for the next year. But well, I hope that COVID, and definitely COVID will end at a certain point of time, and at that point of time we'll be able to increase the budget for cash rebate program if there are projects that want to come to shoot in Latvia. For minority co-productions, we still have it. We still plan to have the competition next year. We don't have plans to increase the amount we distribute in that program right now, but well, we'll see how the whole situation works out. And then, yeah.
Wonderful.
That's briefly about the future and the past.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We did not go into details of the situation of the pandemic and how it influences production in your country in this panel right now, because I think it's going to be very different. It's also like something that's really hard to predict how it's going to develop. So I hope we all find a good way to continue producing or like start producing in a safe way again very soon. But in this panel, we just wanted to, because you mentioned it, and it was mentioned a few times, of course, it's like a bit the elephant in the big virtual studio here. But I just wanted to say that we didn't go into detail in how the situation is right now, because in a week or two or a month it might be different again. So just to mention that. Thank you so much. At this point, I'll slowly come to an end. I'm sure there's many more questions, and you will have the opportunity to ask all of these questions by email if you connect to me, and most of you hopefully did already because you RSVP'd for this online event. But at the end of the event, you'll also see another slide with my contact, and I'll be very happy to connect you to all of the wonderful experts that we had on this panel today. I really hope that there will be many films, many corporations, many co-productions coming out of not only this event, but in general out of the incentive schedules and the supports that we presented here today. And I wanted to mention that on Saturday, so tomorrow at 8 p.m., if you want to watch, you can stream our award show at the Nordische Filmtage Lübeck online as well. And there will be a Baltic Film Prize as well. So colleagues of the people that we had on this panel today have the pleasure to watch lots of films, and they will award a prize for an outstanding feature film from the Nordic countries. And you can find out which film that is on Saturday at 8 p.m. And I hope everybody who was on the panel here will be able to tune in. I will definitely. And yeah, this brings us to the end of the panel. So I want to thank all four of us who were here with me today on the panel. Thank you so much for joining. I also want to thank the partners of Lübeck Meetings that made this event possible, and especially our colleagues and partners and friends from the embassies of the 3 Baltic countries that helped us put together this event. Without our partners, of course, events like this wouldn't be possible. So I want to thank also the Hanse Museum that hosted us for this panel, the Posel Stiftung that supports us as an industry program at Nordische Filmtage for a few years, for 10 years already by now, and our partners, the Radisson Blu Senator Hotel and also Scanbo, and everybody who's like a friend and a partner of the industry programs at Nordische Filmtage Lübeck. Thank you very much. And with this, I'll say a warm goodbye to all 4 of you. I can only see 3 of you right now, but I know you're all there. And thank you for coming, and thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing the information. And we will be in touch, and hopefully next year we'll be able to sit together in Lübeck and come physically close to each other again. Thank you so much to Estonia, to Latvia, and to Lithuania. And goodbye for now from Lübeck.